Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered, why are my teeth so small? No sharp fangs like a lion. No crushing jaw like a gorilla. Even biting into a slightly tough piece of sugar cane can make you rethink your life choices. Sounds a little insulting. Right. But here's the twist. That weak jaw is actually proof that you're carrying one of the most advanced biological technologies on Earth. And it's not in your mouth. It's on your stove. If I told you that cooking is humanity's external stomach, would that sound like an exaggeration? Stay with me. It all begins with a very practical energy problem. The modern human brain consumes about 20% of the body's daily energy. That means for every 5 spoonfuls of rice you eat, one goes straight to fueling thought, imagination, creativity, anxiety, and even remembering your Wi-Fi password. The problem is, energy doesn't appear out of nowhere. If the body had to struggle constantly to digest raw food, the brain would never be fed so generously. And that's where the kitchen enters the story. Imagine biting into raw meat. The muscle fibers are structured like tightly twisted ropes. Plants contain cellulose, a kind of natural armor that the human stomach isn't very good at breaking down. If everything were eaten raw, your body would have to work overtime just to extract nutrients from those protective layers. When you turn on the stove and heat food to around 100–200 degrees Celsius, the temperature begins breaking down proteins and starches. Chemical bonds bend and loosen, like untying a knot before pulling a rope. In everyday terms, fire pre-processes your food. It does part of the digestion before the bite even reaches your stomach. That's the idea behind the external stomach. Pots, pans, and fire act like auxiliary organs for digestion. Food becomes softer, easier to absorb, and the body doesn't need to build a massive digestive system just to handle tough, raw meals. Did you know that human intestines are relatively shorter than those of many other primates? That's not a design flaw. It's the result of outsourcing part of digestion to heat. As the digestive system shrank, the saved energy began flowing elsewhere. And that place is incredibly demanding. Think of the body like a startup company. Energy is the budget. You can't spend infinitely. If you invest too much in the digestion department, you'll have to cut funding for research and development. In other words, the brain. The human brain weighs around 1–4 kilograms, about the size of a small bag of rice from the supermarket. Yet its energy consumption is like a computer running at full power, 24/7. If you need about 2,000 calories a day to function, roughly 400 calories go to the brain alone. 400 calories. That's like an entire bowl of pho with all the toppings. Just to think. If our ancestors had continued eating entirely raw diets, their digestive systems would need to be larger, longer, and far more energy-hungry. The brain wouldn't have had the chance to expand. Studies of Homo erectus suggest that around 1.8 million years ago, brain size began to increase noticeably compared to earlier ancestors. Not because they suddenly decided to become smarter, but because they finally had the budget to support a larger brain. And where did that budget come from? From food that had already been partially digested by fire. You see, this isn't just a story about cuisine. It's a complete redesign of the human body. Smaller jaws, less massive teeth, shorter intestines, and the brain stepping into the spotlight. But there's another detail that makes things even more fascinating. When you grill meat and smell that irresistible aroma spreading through the air, it's not just good smell. It's the Maillard reaction, a chain of chemical reactions between proteins and sugars at high temperatures. Sounds academic? But picture it like roasting coffee beans and filling a room with a rich, hypnotic fragrance. This reaction creates hundreds of new compounds, producing complex flavors and aromas. And our brains almost go wild for them. Why? Because evolution programmed a simple message. The smell of cooked food equals safer and more energy-rich nutrition. Raw meat can carry parasites. Raw starch is hard to digest. But once cooked, risks decrease, and energy becomes more accessible. The brain learned to reward us with cravings and satisfaction whenever we eat cooked meals. So when you find it impossible to resist the smell of fresh bread coming out of the oven, that's not weakness. That's millions of years of evolution whispering. Eat it. This is good for your brain's future. Cooking isn't just about heating food. It's a chemical festival designed to pamper our energy-hungry brains. Without fire. Without Maillard reactions. Without this external stomach, there would be no evening spent thinking about the universe, art, or even this very story. And that's how the circle closes. You're not intelligent only because you study hard or read many books. You're intelligent because millions of years ago, your ancestors placed a pot over a flame and accidentally redesigned the human body. The next time you turn on the stove, look at that flame as an invisible auxiliary organ, a second stomach working on your behalf. And if this makes tonight's dinner feel a little more philosophical, maybe next time we can dig even deeper. What would happen if humans returned to a fully raw diet? How would our bodies and our societies transform? You might never look at a frying pan the same way again, not as a simple kitchen tool, but as the device that quietly helped create civilization itself.